What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Terma Show. This week,
Hey.
we are talking about depression. So, we brought on some fellow stroke warriors who have navigated through their stroke journey. And while they're going through their journey, they fell into those dips of depression. And they're going to share how they navigated through those term waters. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start the intro video. We'll start the intro video after we play the disclaimer.
Jessica Cruz is a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer since 2010. In 2016, she survived an ischemic stroke. A mother of 3 teenagers, she was a National Miss Health and Fitness semi-finalist, a marathon runner. Jessica is currently recovering from epilepsy caused by stroke. Frank Plemons works as a Dell sales coach. He is an avid biker. Years ago, when biking with friends, Frank ran into an accident which nearly killed him. He suffered a head injury which led to a stroke. Frank is otherwise very strong and healthy. Cam Compton is a stroke survivor. Her journey of recovery started after she suffered a stroke in 2012, the day after her 52nd birthday. At the beginning, she could not walk or understand what was happening. After 8 years, she regained most of her functions and explored many things she did not touch before stroke, including yoga, Tai Chi, circuit training. She helped create a number of online media programs, including hosting Brain Injury Talk Show and Hand in Hand Show, the podcast program for Stroke Focus.
Survivors and families bravely facing the challenges of stroke and working hard to reclaim their lives. Stroke survivors building this channel believe sharing experience and perspectives help everyone. However, information provided on this channel is not medical advice. For medical advice, please consult with your doctors, neurologists and therapists.
Hey, everyone, it's so nice to meet you. Thanks for those introductions. So, Cam, Jessica, Frank, thank you for sharing that part with us. Now, as I was saying, this show is about depression here. So, we go through our stroke journeys, and like I was stating in the beginning, we go through the ups and downs and whatnot. So let's go ahead and start with Frank. Now, I know once we start out with the ups and downs, that has to be some aspect in your life, that you have to navigate through that. Did you experience that at some point?
Right away. And I turned down, when I was in ICU and inpatient rehab, I turned down some of the care that I would later accept because I knew I was going to get better and I was going to leave this behind. So, yes.
So you turned it down because, do you think that was a pride thing, or?
Yes, that
Okay.
definitely was. I thought, I've overcome so much in my life that this is nothing. I'm going to beat this, and I don't need medication. I don't need therapy. I'm going to walk out of here. That was my attitude.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I was, I'm 24 years survivor myself, and same mindset as well, and I got this, it's fine. And I still, it's a journey the whole time. It's a journey. Still do the same thing. Now, Jessica, how about yourself? Did you find yourself going through, and you are, Jessica, you're 7 year? It said 7 years, right? Survivor? Post?
5 years.
5 years post.
That's
And you have 3 kids?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
3 kids. So that must have been a little bit of added pressure on top of that. And I'm sure you had some excess pressure on yourself being a mother with it falling into some sort of depression in some regards?
Actually, it was motivator for me because there was no time for them to see me struggling and fighting with myself and my survival here. I was going to get up and I was going to be their mother and show them how you do this in life. That was it for me.
There you go. Paving a path for others to follow. I love it. Showing them what a true warrior is. Now, Cam, did you ever experience at some point in your life after your stroke where you had to find a way to navigate through some low points and during your stroke recovery to fight through or power through?
Absolutely. I was a mom also. I had a child in high school, and I was raising my elementary school age granddaughter at the time. And I had to get back. There was just no way that I could not be the person that I was before. Now, I know now that I'll never be the person I was before, but, you know, maybe I'm a little better. But yeah, I had to put on that good face and just keep moving. Although filters are gone, and there's some things that I didn't recognize. I didn't recognize, you know, depression, and things come out of my mouth that aren't supposed to, you know. So there was a whole nother level there.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, I get it too. And when you found this is, you guys can answer, whoever wants to step up. When you found yourselves in those, I didn't call it depression. I called it funks. I could still call them, you know, I'm in a funk or whatever. You know, when you find yourself falling into that realm, what do you guys do?
Me personally, I've got a host of people that I can call. I have an individual mental health counselor, and I'm also in marriage counseling. So mental health resources are what's helped me.
There you go. And Jessica or Cam, what do you guys find yourself doing when you get into a little bit of a funk?
Well, I remember I never lost consciousness during my stroke. And so I remember seeing other people who were in the same intensive care unit as me experiencing stroke. And then, so anytime I start to feel a little bit down, I remember seeing them there going through a different experience than I had. And so I choose to get active and do what I am still allowed to do. So I get up, I get moving, I get proactive.
I love it. And I love it so much. Cam, how about you?
So I allow myself a pity party. They're fewer and further between these days, but I give myself a timeline. So whether it's an hour or a day or 2 days, that's my allotted time, you know, with my chocolate and well, actually I can't eat chocolate anymore, but with my, you know, movies and my Kleenex box and, you know, all of that. And then once that time frame is over, it's done. I have to move forward and let it go.
Yeah. For me, when I fall into, you know, a little bit of a funk like that, I find something that I thoroughly enjoy, and that's what I do. And for me, that's going fishing. So, you know, I tell my wife, I say, hey, I need to go fishing, and it's just me, myself, my fishing pole, and my fishing chair, and that's it. And I just sit there and I just fish, and by the time I'm done fishing, I'm fine. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of, you know, basically finding your groove, you know what I mean? Getting your groove back. So I think, you know, once that, you know, that funk, that roller coaster aspect comes in, trying to get back on that, you know, straight and narrow is, you know, the main focus. And as, you know, as Frank was saying here, very important to have someone to reach out to. You never have to sit there and you're on your own. You know, it's very important to have someone to reach out to. Now, Frank, how 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 now I'm going to leave this conversation up to you guys, and I want you guys to go ahead and go back and forth and talk about Frank, do you have children?
I do. I have a second grader who's 8 years old, and when I crashed, he had just turned 2. Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's intense.
We got really lucky. My outlaws had moved here to Austin, where we are, and he was able to stay with them for the 3 weeks that I was in ICU.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. And you said he was in the car with you?
No. I was cycling when this happened.
Oh, cycling.
So I was cycling. I dodged a car and I crashed face first. And when I crashed face first, that's when all the trauma happened. So my injuries were from my neck up.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's intense. So I want you guys to go ahead and discuss amongst yourselves on how you guys handle the stroke aspect with children being involved. And I'm going to go ahead and step away and let you guys go ahead and talk about how you guys handle being a stroke survivor and children.
Well, I'm curious, the mother of 3, how do you manage that? That seems daunting to me. Can you talk about that?
Oh, sure. Matter of fact, I remember the day I had made my way out of inpatient rehabilitation. It was a winter day and there was snow on the ground, and I come home to find there's no food in the refrigerator, and the kids were delivered by their father. We have split custody, so there's no food in the refrigerator, no milk. I can't drive. It's snowing, so I rode my bike up the street to get milk from the store for those kids. I'm in survival mode every day, all day. And those poor kids, we've learned to laugh at things, is what we do here. I don't take myself near as seriously as I used to.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Cam, with your kids and grandkids?
So my parents helped a lot while I was in the hospital and rehab for 6 weeks. They stayed with my mom and dad, who just actually lived about 2 blocks away from me. So it was kind of easy for them. They could still get to the house. They could, do that. But my high schooler actually quit talking to me. She wouldn't come visit me. She was very angry. And of course, I was divorced and had only been divorced for a year or 2 at that point, maybe 2 years. But so she was already angry about the divorce, and this just made it worse. The younger, my granddaughter, was quite worried about me. But I do have a funny story in the end. My daughter has turned around and she's gotten married, but she went to school, and you could have picked me up off the floor when she told me she wanted to be a nurse.
Wow.
So she's been working I know. I was like, wait a second. But she actually worked at the rehab hospital where I had been for that 6 weeks, and she loves it. And she was trying to finish school, but with COVID and stuff, she kind of took a break because online learning is not her thing. So hopefully she'll get back into school. But yeah, she decided to go into nursing, and I think in the end, it's brought all 3 of us closer together. But at that point, it was devastating to them because, again, like Jessica, I couldn't drive. And as a single parent, when I came home, I couldn't even maneuver the stairs in the house and things like that. So you learn how to do it. You just have to, because there's only so much you can rely on other people.
Yes. I loved all of that, and I appreciate it. That was great. Great topics, great communication right there. Let's go ahead and wrap it up and take a little bit of a break right now, and we will jump back into the next aspect of our communication here. Let's take a little bit of a break.
Sitting on the ropes, you
Alrighty, we are back. So we are back now. Let's see. I think we have the audience in the house now, and we're planning on bringing them in at some point. But I think we're going to try to continue the conversation a little bit here. But we just had Jessica and Cam and Frank talk about how they navigated through their stroke journey with their children, which was great. And I appreciate them sharing that with us. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it a little bit here. As for myself, I had my stroke when I was younger, and I didn't have my stroke when I had my children. I had my stroke after I had my kids after I had my stroke. So it's quite the different journey. And so I still suffer, I didn't essentially, go into a relationship, have kids, then, get smacked in the gut, punched in the face with the stroke. I essentially went into all that with already having, my disabilities and whatnot. So it's quite the different outcome, quite the different perspective on everything. And maybe that'll be time for a different show here. So let's go ahead and bring back in the guest. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. So, looks like we have a question from someone from the audience. Hi, audience member. Who are you?
Me?
Yes.
You're on the screen. You get to ask a question.
Oh, no. I am Lee Jordan. I am in Portland, Oregon, and I think our group was here to ask about depression after stroke. Mm-hmm. I had no depression at all, but many people do. And how is it handled by them?
I can't answer for everyone, but I didn't really have a diagnosis of depression, but I was seeing a psychologist for about 5 or 6 years. And it actually gave me coping skills, which I think helped with not having full-blown depression. It helped me find ways to move forward and be okay with having a stroke. But like I said, I do have pity parties, which, there are bad days and good days. There are days that we climb great mountains and other days we slide down them. So, but I can't say that I was ever clinically depressed.
Yeah.
I can say that I was very depressed because my disability is permanent. I've got about 20% use of my left arm and left leg. So going from being active, healthy, being able to live the lifestyle I wanted to live, all that has gone away. And reinventing myself and accepting who I am has been a journey that I've needed medication, psychiatric care, and also therapy. I rotate my individual counselor for my own mental health with our marriage counseling. My wife and I are trying to not get divorced. We are 17 years into a marriage, and we would like to stay together. So that I've had what I feel like is way too much depression since 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, do you have any thoughts?
I think, try as I might, those really dark feelings. I mean, after putting forth all that effort to just compensate for all of my deficits, I find myself extremely tired sometimes, and I feel those negative thoughts creep in. That's when I know, okay, you've had enough. You need to take a break and allow yourself some rest. You've done enough today. And sometimes that's okay. That usually takes care of those negative thoughts for me.
Absolutely. Does that answer your question, or do you have more?
It does.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions in the audience? Okay. So I know for myself, I found recently, more recently, that working with my personal trainer on days that I'm like bad, that it actually helps a lot with those feelings. I usually go out of the gym feeling so much better than I did walking in. And whether I was tired, whether I was just having a bad day, whether it was, a pity party day or whatever, unfortunately, my stamina or my, if I do too much during a week, all I want to do is sleep. So I've had to limit myself to only twice a week at the gym unless I'm having a really good week. But yeah, exercise. And I know Jessica can probably attest to that. And I don't know, Frank, about you, but, exercise, getting out in the sunlight, whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get those endorphins going. Yeah.
I have a fitness tracker, and I try and take at least 6,000 steps a day to be successful. And I do have a gym that I can use also.
That's nice. Great. But 6,000 steps, I don't have a thing to tell me how many steps I've taken, but that sounds like a lot.
It's a good goal to set every day.
All right. So, audience, I know you guys have more questions or you have comments. Anybody out there?
Kim, do you find that you need to take a nap, or you need a nap? Do you find that you need a nap so desperately?
Yes, absolutely. I took one before we started this today. So just a little background. Last week, I got ready and did a garage sale on Saturday. All during and I work part-time, but that was a little overwhelming in itself with the garage sale. But then by Monday, I already knew that I was at my limits. And then tomorrow I have a party for 8 people here. And, so we've been cleaning house and all of that. And I just looked at Joe and I just said, Joe's my husband, and said, I've got to have a nap. So I don't take long naps anymore. I found that made me more tired. So I take a nap between 15 minutes and an hour, and 50 minutes, and I was up and I felt much better after I initially got over that grogginess. And then, we got ready to do this. And then when we're done here, I'm going to go finish cleaning. And tomorrow we go get the food and you set up, and 2 o'clock people are here. But I've gotten to the point where I know when I need a nap, and it isn't every day, but this has been an exceptional week for me. So I took a few more.
Beauty sleep.
Oh, well, I would hope so, but I don't know if that works so much. So did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions out there for anybody? Comments? We love them. Okay. Well, so what other ways do you guys what do you try to do on those bad days? What makes you happier? I know we talked about, Mark said fishing, I said sometimes exercise. I can also say my husband. He keeps me laughing constantly, even on a bad day. Frank, what about you?
So what I need to do is there's times that I get out of the house. I work from home and I've got like a command center in my man cave. And I need to get out. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm an avid cook. And, you know, just getting stuff for a recipe, going to the gym. I've got a lot of people that I call and talk to, people for different reasons. And the thing about it is I don't have the latitude to drink a beer. I don't have the latitude to eat a bag of M&Ms. I've got severe stomach and gastrointestinal issues. I'm on a strict diet. I'm trying to think of the way to say this. I don't have much of a filter, but what makes me the happiest is romance with my wife of 17 years and our shared intimacy.
Yep. I get that.
I love it. I love it.
Jessica.
I'm trying to use proper verbiage and not, you know what I mean. I want to keep it rated PG.
Jessica, is there anything else that you do that makes you happy, that keeps you kind of up and moving?
You know, I'm one to crave progress. So I'm constantly organizing and cleaning. And on the worst days, I'll find myself getting on YouTube and looking up like comedy stand-up routines. And it's ridiculous how loud I'm laughing. And my kids are just so highly annoyed by me because I'm so old and uncool in the other room. But like the stand-up routines definitely get me smiling again. So
yeah. That's all good. And I forgot, my other love is crafting. So getting in the craft room and getting something made or learning something. And so YouTube is, you know, one of my, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it can be both. And my husband gets after me because he didn't know you could spend so much money at the Dollar Tree because they have this huge section of crafting.
Guilty.
Yeah. Are you guilty of that too?
Oh, I watch the shows, the tutorials, and here lately I've been watching the keto tutorial for Aldi, like Aldi shopping spree. So always looking to grow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YouTube is a bad habit, and it can put you in a really good mood though, depending on what you're watching. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on depression? Or, you know, I know that reaching out to other people and finding purpose in your life, you know, trying to keep those connections, which a lot of times stroke survivors lose. And they lose that because people don't understand stroke, and they don't understand brain injury. Fortunately, we also at that time find out who our friends really are, who cares about us, who, you know, will stick around.
And to that, I would say it's finding new friends, also making new connections.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah,
definitely.
It is. And that's one of the things when I said earlier, my filters are gone. I'll go up and talk to people. Who does that? But I didn't used to do it, but I do now. Yeah, I do now. And if they don't like me, I'm okay with that. Where I didn't used to be. I used to be a little more uptight about this. No. So yes, and I wouldn't have done all these things. I wouldn't have had Brain Injury Radio or Stroke Focus, the Hand in Hand show, or you know, run a stroke support group, or, you know, whatever it is I did. I've met so many people and made so many more new friends.
We're going to go ahead and take another break. And after we get back from the break, we're going to take a question from the audience again.
That'll be you, Donna.
Oh, my question?
Yeah, when they come back.
Oh. I gotta think of a question.
Survivors feel very disconnected and abandoned once discharged. In fact, that is when they need the support most. And this disconnect hurts everyone, including your group. Therefore, we formed a coalition post-discharge stroke support, otherwise known as PDSS. It has various teams throughout the world. Determined TV is honored to be the designated media channel of this coalition. Please consider an interview with Determined TV where we would bring the face of your group onto YouTube and Facebook in a highly professional manner. The change starts from helping survivors and families get to know you. Let me introduce you to a couple of groups that we're working with.
Hey there, my name is George Scholler from the Stroke Survivor Foundation here in South Africa. I too am a stroke survivor since 2008. I was 37 years of age. And upon discharge, I realized that that is when you start living with the burden that a stroke has brought into your life. Within 10 months of my stroke, I lost my business. My marriage ended in divorce. At that point, I was reaching out to find support, and I struggled. And that's what led me to form the Stroke Survivor Foundation. I don't want you as stroke survivors to go through what I went through. PDSS is here to bridge the gap that exists upon discharge with therapists, doctors, neurologists, and the stroke community. So there were 3 words that helped me overcome the burden that I had, and that's adapt, improvise, and overcome. Those 3 words with a positive mindset will get you through all of this. So all the best, good luck, and sign up on PDSS.
Hi, my name is Denise, and I had a brain injury over 30 years ago, what I wish I would have done for the last 30 years. And that is to let people know how much I struggle, how much help I needed, because I didn't get any help. When I first showed up at the support group, I actually understood, and people understood what I was saying, and for the first time ever, I felt like that I was being heard, and I had people who understood what I was going through. That was very much of a relief that I was not different. I want brain injury and stroke survivors to know that you're not alone, that there are people out there who understand what you're going through, who can support you.
The change starts from helping survivors and families get to know you.
Okay, your question, please.
Hey, my question is, for me, stroke has been one of my greatest teacher. And I knew that after my stroke, I was going to have to change my whole thinking about everything. What have you learned, or what have through your stroke? What has been one of the best things that have come to from your stroke for you?
Mine is what's important, and that is being a husband and a father. My career trajectory is gone. With my current job, it's the least I've ever made in my 30-year career, and it's the happiest that I am. So letting go of that, and it's really changed my identity, and I'm still trying to accept that.
Jessica, you want to answer any for that?
I think I've gained a lot of clarity on, as you said, what's important, and the illusion of perfection is not obtainable for anyone, and to just be able to laugh at myself and embrace the moment, because we're not guaranteed how many we'll get.
Mm-hmm. And then for me, you know, it's an I can. I have done more since my stroke than I ever did in my life. And there have been walls that I've had to overcome, but I can. I took the word can't out of my vocabulary, because if you keep trying, eventually, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next year, but at some point, you may or can be able to do it. You just have to, unfortunately, keep trying and keep up the good faith. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, so I don't know what else, you know, we can say that we just keep going. I learned a long time ago the I can part, and that was from a doctor, a dentist who became a one-handed dentist. He hadn't had a stroke, but he had had brain surgery. The first time the brain surgery went fine. The second time it did not do so fine. And he was left with left-sided paralysis, his whole left side. And he talked about, you know, that his wife took care of him. And one day she just decided she'd had enough. And she said, I'm going out for breakfast with friends. And he said, well, how am I going to get dressed? And she said, you'll figure it out. He said, how am I going to make my breakfast? She said, you know, you'll figure it out. And he did. Now, his shoes weren't tied. His shirt was buttoned crooked. He ate, I don't know what it was, like peanut butter or something, but he did it. And then from then on, he decided he could, and he did. He became a one-handed dentist. He flew planes. He played golf. He just never, he said, take the word can't out of your vocabulary because you can.
Something that caught my attention, Frank, and I think it was Cam right before the break, was, you know, that we have people that bow out after we have our stroke. And then I think, Frank, you said we find out who our true friends are. And, you know, that was a great aspect that you pointed out there. And, you know, and I think, I don't remember who it was that said it, but we have new people that come into our lives after our stroke. And I found that, you know, if our circle's like this big, and then if we make it smaller, 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 and we build it up with like-minded people, that our lives become, you know, much happier. Did you guys did any of that happen to you guys at all?
Absolutely. I think there's a certain freedom you're allowed when, as you said, you would no longer have that filter, and you're, like it or not, they're either going to accept you or they're not. You're still going to be you. And you, I mean, unfortunately, I've had to learn to live without a lot of people that I thought were necessary in my life. Yes.
True that.
I was fortunate. I didn't lose any friends. I found out how true they were. I also found my husband after my stroke. So, you know, I enlarged my group of friends and kept those that were already friends even closer, because after reading all the Facebook posts and stuff about people losing so many friends and family even. So I feel I was very fortunate.
I wouldn't say that I lost any friends. I gained some, and I strengthened the relationships with some of the friends that I had. And then gaining survivor friends in the stroke community has been wonderful.
Yes, I agree with that about the stroke community friends. I've had several that I check up on all the time because I just adore them.
So Donna has a question for you guys again.
Oh, me, a question. Oh.
They are putting you on the spot.
What do you think has been your greatest challenge?
Working, doing the job that I had done before. It actually took 2 years to figure out what I could and couldn't do after my stroke, and they kept me on. Now I work in the hospital field. I actually work in an administrative office of critical care medicine. So fortunately, they knew what I was going through and were able to make adjustments to my schedule and to my work. Frank or Jessica?
Mine is acceptance. I cannot stand that word. I'm nowhere close to it yet. And that is by far my biggest struggle.
My biggest challenge has been holding this household and this life together for my children, managing the household, just paying bills on a much lower income, or less stable income than I had prior to the stroke. And of course, being a stable role model for my children through all this, weathering the storm, I suppose. But the biggest challenge, even thereafter, was learning that the stroke could not necessarily be the last of them. Had some struggles with epilepsy that was caused by the stroke, causing me to go into a coma last month.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that sounds like a lot of fun.
yes, I was on life support and in a coma, and
Really?
that in itself
Wow.
affects your kids in your life as well. Yeah.
That's intense.
That's a big challenge when you
Yeah.
knock down and get knocked down again. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had done well for a while, hadn't you? And
yes, just over 4 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So, audience member, I forgot your name. Was it Donna?
Yes.
Okay. So what was your greatest challenge?
Oh, first getting my sight back. I went blind and I was paralyzed on my left side, which I got my sight back. That's a hard one, not to be able to move and not to be able to see. But I never believed that I would never see again. And when you talked about your friend who was the dentist, who's only can use one hand, I'm a photographer in Hollywood and I can only use one hand. And everyone told me that I would never make it. I just started in Hollywood photographing when I had my stroke. And everyone said I would never make it. But I was determined that I was going to photograph again, because that's what kept me moving forward, the passion that I could feel a purpose. And I kept trying for a whole year. I sat in comedy stores and laughed and photographed. And it was very healing for me. And I had to practice using only one hand. And now I'm one of the top photographers in Hollywood. So you can do it if you believe you can, and I'm like, I take that can't, I threw that away. Impossible, I threw that away. Impossible says I'm possible. And I had to, it was a totally renewing of my mind. Our bodies are challenged, but our bodies can heal themselves. It's our mind that we have to renew. And so I realized that, and I changed my thinking about everything. And as I changed my thinking, my physical body changed too.
Yeah, so I feel that you have to have purpose, number one, and whether you fight to find that purpose, whatever it is, that helps. Gratitude, I feel, is huge, but the I can attitude and the keep trying and to not let anybody tell you you can't.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I think Lee had a question as well.
I do. And it doesn't appear to me that any of the three panelists has this, but I have aphasia, and my stroke was 12 years ago. Did any of you have aphasia, and what did you do about it?
I have aphasia. You wouldn't know it because I've worked very hard on this. Mine is more just getting the words from my brain. Sometimes I will give my husband this blank look because I see the word, I know the word, but it doesn't come out. But it is much better than it was in the beginning. But still, I can tell I'm different, and I I don't know about you, but I pronounce words weird. Not all words, but certain words. And my kids make fun of me for it. So I have to laugh with it too. But yeah. Anybody else have aphasia?
I didn't have aphasia, no.
Okay.
Does anyone practice any games or anything to help stimulate the brain? Because I find I do that.
I used to have an account on Lumosity.
Because I have the same thing. At times I can't find the word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I play several games, word games.
I'm not a stroke survivor, but I've been running a music group for about 10 years for stroke and brain injury survivors. And we hear that when people are able to sing on a regular basis, it helps their speech through the rest of the week. Kind of like, keeping in shape, jogging or something like that. So for people who enjoy singing, it seems to be helpful for language.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because I think, yes, so there are people who have even severe aphasia, but they can sing, which is always amazing. And so, yeah, that you should always try everything you can. I don't even know who was telling the story. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and she worked in a facility, and there was a gentleman who had gone to Juilliard and had a stroke and lost, or maybe he had a head injury, but anyway, whatever. He couldn't play the piano, they didn't think. And one day, just by chance, somebody, because, he just needed something, and they took him to a piano, and he played beautifully, and nobody knew he could play. He didn't know he could play, but he just saw that piano, sat down and did it, and he just progressed and blossomed from there. So singing, music, an instrument, whatever, is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I found listening to audiobooks and discussing it helps me.
Yeah. I have to read a book, and I then have to hear the book and then discuss the book to be able to remember it.
I think it expands my vocabulary having heard recently, so that it's more retrievable to me and easier.
Yeah. Yeah, because
after my stroke, I wasn't able to read a lot. I mean, I could, read emails. I could read a post on the internet. I could not sit down and read a book for a few hours because I had cranial 6 nerve damage in one of my eyes. So what I found is, someone mentioned audiobooks. There's an app called Bard, B-A-R-D, and the state of Texas gives brain injury survivors like me free access. So I get free talking books and magazines to download onto my device. And that's what I've done, that in podcasts. I love podcasts.
I think it's interesting. My name is Kelly, and I'm from the Atlanta area. I even had my stroke 12 years ago, and my aphasia, I think we all, to a degree, have some aphasia. It just manifests itself differently. Like with me, I don't have it unless I'm trying to talk on a phone. If I were to put the phone up to my ear, my mind goes blank. If I put my headphones in or put it in speaker, I can talk all day long. So I think it's just like somebody else, I think Cam said that every once in a while, that word just won't come up. And I think these are all phases of aphasia, that some of us have it a little more severe than others. Same with the reading. I love reading. I am not an audio listener, an audio learner. If you play me an audio book, I'm going to be sitting there going, wait, chapter 2, I just started chapter 1, because my brain is somewhere else. I squirrel too much for audio. I think probably the most important thing for me after stroke was not being part of a community where we all presented differently, but we had that thread of commonality, but without comparing. Oh, she can walk without an AFO. I can't. My left side is still paralyzed, but I live alone. I have an empty nest. Both my boys are gone and married. I live completely by myself. I drive, I shop. I still have to wear an AFO. I still have to walk with a cane. My left arm does not work at all. But a long time ago, I had to stop comparing well, she can read, he can't, or she can listen to audiobooks. It just doesn't do you any good. It's focusing on your step forwards that's most important.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, because, you know, I was in a stroke support group, and there was a gentleman who had, was still trying to recover physically, and he was angry. He was angry that somebody, you know, just walked out of the hospital. He was angry that somebody, you know, had, within 6 months was, you know, doing this, that, or the other. He was at the gym every day, 4 hours a day, and he couldn't understand why he wasn't where anybody else was. And he blamed it on his doctors, because they, you know, he went through the whole gamut. They weren't real doctors. They were, you know, there were some foreign doctors. There were, you know, this, that, and the other. And he was angry. And yes, so I can see where we need to stop and think about our recovery, not somebody else's recovery, because in all of this, it's your journey. It's not their journey. Each one of us has a different journey to talk about, but as a community, we have this common thing, and unfortunately, it's not where we want to be. We don't want to be in the stroke group, but we are, and it's okay.
It's recognizing that the most minute step forward is still forward, period.
Yes.
And that's kind of the great thing about these kinds of meetings, where you don't see somebody for a week or a month, and then all of a sudden you start celebrating because, like, Lee, you sound better this time. I've watched Joyce for the last several years. Her speaking has just gotten better and better and better. She may not hear it because she has to hear herself every day. But I don't see her but once every couple of months. And it's always surprising to me how much better she's gotten. So I think it's that celebration of our minute steps forward.
So that's another thing that we don't see. Maybe after that first year, we don't see our progress. And that is a killer to me, because I wasn't seeing stuff. But I would go to church every Sunday, and somebody would say, "Oh my gosh, you're walking better. Oh my gosh, you know, you're holding yourself better." And I'd be like, no. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'd been practicing for 2 years to put a fitted sheet on my bed, guys, a fitted sheet. It would take me hours to get that darn thing on the bed. And one day it only took me like 40 minutes. That was a milestone. You know,
but you didn't quit. You didn't quit, and that's important.
30 minutes, somebody else would look at that and say, "Holy cow, girl, 40 minutes, really? That's a 5-minute job." But for us, that's a milestone.
I still struggle with that too.
Yeah, see? Yeah, now I have my husband do it. So but yeah, so, but we don't see it. And sometimes that does send us into a funk, because we don't see our own progress. And, but fortunately for the stroke support groups, or for a friend that hasn't seen you in a week or 2 or 10 or whatever, they will see it, and normally they will comment on it. So that's huge.
Yeah, I compare our recovery process to a diet. So we go on a diet, and boom, we lose all this weight at first, and then all of a sudden it just slowly stops, and we don't notice, you know, that we're losing weight because we're looking in the mirror all the time, and we're like, man, I look the same, I feel the same, you know. And then we finally notice when maybe we stop staying on the scale every day, jump on the scale like a week or 2 later, or we grab those jeans that we couldn't fit into from 3 years ago, and we go to put them on, and we're like, oh my gosh, they fit. Or we step outside and we see John from down the street that hasn't seen us in like 5 months, and he's like, oh my gosh, you lost so much weight, you look great. You know, so that's exactly how our recovery process is. You know, we're doing all these exercises and all these therapies, you know, and we're, like you guys were all alluding to, you know, we're over there trying to, you know, do everything, you know, all day, every day. We're seeing it. But the progress is so minute that we don't get to see it. And with the minute progresses, you know, they add up, they add up, they add up. And like you guys were all saying, when you see someone later, you know, they're the ones that recognize it. So with that being said, you know, maybe that could be something that we add on to for a future show where, you know, coming along with everything that we touched on for this show, there's been excellent pinpoints that we could add on. But if you would like to add something more to this conversation that we have been having, you can comment on the video on Facebook or on YouTube. Cam, do you have any concluding thoughts for our community?
So, yeah, reach out, guys. It's imperative that you reach out to somebody when you're having that bad day, or when you're having really bad days. Find a psychologist, call your doctor, find a friend. You know, what was that show where they'd say, call a friend? You know, do you want to call a friend? Yes, you want to call a friend. Go visit with somebody, whatever it takes, because don't isolate yourself when you're feeling sad, bad, or in a funk.
And how about you, Jessica?
Be your own advocate, and don't be ashamed of what you're going through, because those people, they really don't know. It was just a couple years prior to my stroke that I ran into a gentleman who had a brain injury from a car accident. And he was so far gone from what I was capable of understanding, but he took the time to actually talk to me, and it had a deep effect on me. And now I realize I am that person, and it's just, they don't know. They really don't understand what you're going through. So talk to the other people that are so far removed from your situation and enlighten them. If they're worth it, they'll listen.
There you go. I love it. And how about you, Frank?
I would say be open-minded, stay curious, and find what works. There is not a cookie-cutter pattern to recovery, so find your fit and pursue that.
Now, my concluding thoughts for this whole depression aspect is, you know, we are on our way in our life, in our journey, and our path. And, you know, stroke, it comes out of nowhere. We get punched in the face, punched in the gut, slapped in the face by stroke. And, you know, we're not on this journey alone, you know, and as Frank was saying, you know, reach out, call someone. You're not on it alone. You know, there's other people here. We have a huge community here that you can reach out to. We have all gone through similar circumstances. As you can see, we have the people here that hopefully you gain some sort of inspiration, piece of knowledge from, so you can reach out to any of us, reach out to family or friend. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Let's go ahead and roll the concluding clip. Thank you so much, everyone.
Chills proud, taking blow on blow after blow. The clock turns, spinning.
Survivors feel very disconnected and abandoned once discharged. In fact, that is when they need the support most. And this disconnect hurts everyone, including your group. Therefore, we formed a coalition post-discharge stroke support, otherwise known as PDSS. It has various teams throughout the world. Determined TV is honored to be the designated media channel of this coalition. Please consider an interview with Determined TV where we would bring the face of your group onto YouTube and Facebook in a highly professional manner. The change starts from helping survivors and families get to know you. Let me introduce you to a couple of groups that we're working with.
Hey there, my name is George Scholler from the Stroke Survivor Foundation here in South Africa. I too am a stroke survivor since 2008. I was 37 years of age, and upon discharge, I realized that that is when you start living with the burden that a stroke has brought into your life. Within 10 months of my stroke, I lost my business. My marriage ended in divorce. At that point, I was reaching out to find support, and I struggled. And that's what led me to form the Stroke Survivor Foundation. I don't want you as stroke survivors to go through what I went through. PDSS is here to bridge the gap that exists upon discharge with therapists, doctors, neurologists, and the stroke community. So there were 3 words that helped me overcome the burden that I had. And that's adapt, improvise, and overcome. Those 3 words with a positive mindset will get you through all of this. So all the best, good luck, and sign up on PDSS.
Hi, my name is Denise, and I had a brain injury over 30 years ago, what I wish I would have done for the last 30 years. And that is to let people know how much I struggle, how much help I needed, because I didn't get any help. When I first showed up at the support group, I actually understood, and people understood what I was saying, and for the first time ever, I felt like that I was being heard, and I had people who understood what I was going through. That was very much of a relief that I was not different. I want brain injury and